There is a sound you have not heard in about 10 years. And if you had a personal computer in 2001, you can hear it right now, just from me describing it. 2 short notes. It came out of the bottom right corner of your screen. It meant that somebody you cared about had just sat down at a computer, somewhere else in the world, and that you were about to talk to them for the next 4 hours. That sound is gone. The program that made it is gone. And so are 5 other programs that were sitting on the same desktop, on the same afternoon, on almost every computer on Earth. Not popular, not fondly remembered, installed, on nearly all of them. Today, not one of these 6 is something you would open. Here is what the 6 have in common, and it is not the decade. Every one of them arrived on a machine that was empty. In the 2000s, a new PC came with an operating system and almost nothing else. If you wanted to play music, you went and got a music player. If you wanted to burn a disk, you went and got a burning program. You pulled it down over a modem, or a friend handed you a disk, and you installed it yourself. Call it the last install era. It ended when the operating system and the browser started shipping with all of it already inside. That is the first thing that killed these 6. The second thing was worse, and in 4 cases, the company that owned the software did it on purpose. You put it there yourself. Hold on to that line. Number 1, Nero Burning ROM. You knew the gauge. Along the bottom of the window, there was a bar that filled as you dragged files in, and it went yellow, and then it went red somewhere, just past 700 megabytes, and you sat there removing one song at a time to make it fit. You knew the write speed menu, and you knew to turn it down. 48 was what the drive claimed. 16 was what you actually picked, because you did not trust it. And you were right, because when it failed, the disk did not come out empty. It came out ruined, with your handwriting already on the front. Nero came from a small German company called Ahead Software, and at the start, it did one thing. Then it did 18. By Nero 7, in 2005, the box contained more than 18 separate applications, cost $80, and installed a background service that placed its own icon inside my computer. Here's what actually killed it. On the 25th of October, 2001, Windows XP shipped with disk burning built into the file manager. In 2007, Windows Vista added the drag-and-drop disk writing that Nero sold as a separate product. In April 2009, Windows 7 added disk image burning. Microsoft never competed with Nero. It simply included it. Nero Burning ROM is still on sale in 2026. The company stays alive, selling artificial intelligence tools. Nobody buys it to burn anything. Number 2, MSN Messenger. You had a nickname that was not your name. Next to it, you had a personal message, which was one line of a song, and the line was chosen so that one specific person would read it and understand. They never did. You changed it the next day. You had the nudge, which shook the whole conversation window with a thud, and which you sent 7 times in a row. You had Appear Offline, which is the most powerful social tool anyone has ever handed to a 15-year-old. And you had the line saying that the other person is typing a message, and then it stopped, and then nothing arrived. Here's the number people get wrong. In February 2006, the research firm ComScore measured MSN Messenger at 61% of every instant messaging user on the planet, over 90% in Latin America. In North America, only about a third. So if you grew up in the United States, this was a program you had. Everywhere else, it was the internet. At its peak in 2009, over 330 million people used it every month. Then, in May 2011, Microsoft bought Skype for $8.5 billion. Having spent that, it needed everybody on Skype, so it switched off its own product. In April 2013, the client simply stopped being able to connect. The compensation was $2 of Skype credit. MSN Messenger was not beaten by anything. It was turned off by the company that owned it. Number 3, RealPlayer. Buffering. For most of you, that is the entire memory. The word and the percentage underneath it, climbing to 60 and stopping, and then starting again from 0. When you installed it, it asked how fast your connection was. 14.4, 28.8, 56K. Whatever you clicked, you were stuck with. The video window was the size of a business card and could not be made larger unless you paid. Files ended in .ram, which was not the video, but a scrap of text pointing at the video, so you never actually had anything. And there was a background process called Real Scheduler, which you removed from your startup list and which came back. RealPlayer was not small. In 2000, it had 215 million registered users. In the late 1990s, more than 85% of all streaming media on the internet used its format. In 2008, the company took $604 million. Nothing beat it. It poisoned itself. In November 1999, a researcher found its music software quietly reporting home the titles of songs people played. In 2007, version 11 silently installed a second program that stayed behind after you removed RealPlayer. And on the 4th of February, 2008, an organization called Stop Badware formally classified RealPlayer as badware. That is the label used for malicious software. By 2022, the division that made RealPlayer earned $1.4 million in a quarter. It had once made $600 million in a year. Number 4, ICQ. That was it. That was the sound from the start of this video. You had a number, not a name, a number, called a UIN, handed out in order starting from 100,000, which meant that if you arrived early, your number was short. 6 digits was good. 5 digits was a status symbol that could not be bought, and people held those numbers for 25 years. You watched a small green flower in the corner of the screen and knew what every color of it meant. You sent authorization requests before you were allowed to add anybody. And you searched a global directory of complete strangers by country and by age, which is something no software would be permitted to do today. ICQ passed 100 million registered accounts by 2001. Here's the part that is hard to believe. In June 1998, AOL bought it for $407 million. It was the first great technology exit in the history of Israel. Then AOL placed it next to AIM, its other messenger, and let the two of them sit there. It defended neither. In April 2010, AOL sold ICQ for $187.5 million, losing $220 million on the deal. The servers were switched off on the 26th of June, 2024, after 27 years and 7 months. Go to the website today and you get one page telling you to install something else. Number 5, LimeWire. You typed the name of a song. You got 400 results. And then you did the thing everybody did, which was to judge a file by its size and its spelling. 3 megabytes was probably real. 12 megabytes was probably not a song at all. Anything misspelled, in capital letters, promising super quality, was a virus. You knew the trick with the file that looked like a song but ended in VBS because Windows hid the real ending. In one sample of 123 files taken at random from the network, 37 carried malware. And you waited. You started a download before school and checked it when you got home. LimeWire was not a corner of the internet. Between 2006 and 2007, it sat on 36% of every computer in the world that ran file-sharing software at all. Close to 1 in 6 of all Windows machines surveyed. It is the only program in this list that was killed by a court. On the 11th of May, 2010, Judge Kimba Wood ruled that LimeWire had induced copyright infringement and that its founder, Mark Gorton, was personally liable. The record labels then calculated their damages at somewhere between $400 billion and $75 trillion. The judge called that absurd and noted it was more money than exists. On the 26th of October, the software was ordered to switch itself off. It settled for $105 million. In the year after it went, the number of people pirating music in the United States fell from 28 million to 16 million. If you are the kind of person who still has a folder of songs with the wrong artist name on them, stay with me, because the last one is the one people are still angry about. Number 6, Winamp. It really whips the llama's ass. That sentence was spoken out loud, by a voice, in a demonstration file that shipped inside the program. Nobody knew what it meant in 1997. Nobody knows now, and every person who used this program can still hear it. You changed the skin. That is the memory, not the music. The afternoon you spent going through hundreds of skins so that your music player looked like a slab of metal, or a car stereo, or a cartoon. By the year 2000, there were around 3,000 of them. You had a 10-band equalizer that you dragged into a shape you liked and never touched again. You had the small green numbers counting down the seconds. You had the visualizer that turned the whole screen into moving color. In 1999, Winamp was downloaded 43,000 times a day. By 2001, it had 60 million users. In June 1999, AOL bought its maker, a company called Nullsoft, for around $80 million. In the same week, it bought a second music company. Then, according to people who were inside, it told the two of them to compete with each other. Neither survived it. The founders left. The product stood still for 14 years. In January 2014, AOL sold Winamp for somewhere between $5 and $10 million, around 2% of what it paid. AOL did not kill Winamp with a decision. It killed it with 14 years of not making one. 3 of the 6 technically still exist. Nero put out a new version in June of this year. RealPlayer put out one in August. Winamp can still be downloaded, and its owners have announced a relaunch built on a streaming service for next year. None of that is the thing you had. What you had was a machine that arrived empty, and an afternoon, and a decision about which music player was going to be yours. Nobody makes that decision now. Your phone came with everything already on it, chosen by somebody else, and most of it cannot be removed. You put it there yourself. That is the part that is gone, not the software. So tell me one thing. Not which of the 6 you remember, because everybody remembers. Tell me the one that is not on this list. The program that lived on your computer, that you opened every single day, and that you had not thought about once in 15 years until the last 11 minutes. Put it in the comments. The one with the most replies gets its own video.